The party's officially over in San Diego real estate. Homes that used to sell in 18 days are now sitting for 32, and more than half, 51%, are closing below asking price. But here's the kicker, some neighborhoods are slowing way faster than others. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in 2025, you'll want to know exactly what you're stepping into. Remember those days when buying a house here felt like catching lightning in a bottle? You have to throw out an offer before you even saw the house, just hoping you had a chance. Yeah, those days are long gone. And honestly, thank goodness.
Thank you, Jesus!
This isn't a crash, it's not 2008 all over again. Think of it like letting the air out of a balloon that was stretched way too tight. The market needed a breather and now it's finally taking one. Here's the reality check. Home values are down 3.4% from last year. The median sits at $998,000, but before you panic, keep in mind prices shot up more than 55% in just 5 years. That pace was never sustainable, and it priced out way too many families here in San Diego. Homes used to sell in 18 days, now it's 32. That doesn't sound like much, but in real estate terms, that's a big shift. And in a minute, I'll break down what this slowdown really means for buyers and sellers here in San Diego. And here's the bright side, you can finally take a night to think things over. Bring your family back for a second look. Maybe even, get this, negotiate without feeling like you're in a gladiator match. And inventory tells the rest of the story. At the low point, we had fewer than 2,000 listings. Now, about 3,500. That's a 47% jump from last year. Translation, buyers actually have choices again. And that shift from not enough to plenty is changing everything. And here's the thing, not every part of San Diego is feeling the shift the same way. And knowing those differences, this could be the key to making your next smart move. Think of it like the marine layer. Some neighborhoods get socked in and gloomy while others stay super sunny. The cooling's happening countywide, but some spots are definitely feeling it more than others. If you've been dreaming about a downtown lifestyle, this is your moment. Downtown San Diego is ground zero for this market reset, and it's opening doors we haven't seen in years. Walk through the Gaslamp or East Village and you'll notice it. Those shiny high-rises that used to sell in days are now sitting, sometimes 2 months or more. Prices downtown are down 10.9% from last year, with the median now at $675,000, which is actually pretty reasonable by San Diego standards. And homes are taking about 60 days to sell compared to just 36 a year ago. But here's the kicker, places downtown are now closing for about 3% below list price. 2 years ago, that was pretty much unthinkable. Back then, everything was going over asking, sometimes way over. Now, sellers are having to face reality. And that reality is finally working out in buyers' favor. And it's not just downtown. Condos across the county are feeling the same squeeze. In North County, attached homes are down 9.1% to around 750,000, with inventory climbing more than a third. And countywide, attached home sales have fallen 18.3% year over year. That tells us buyers are either holding out for better deals or hitting the brakes because of today's higher rates. Now, before you start thinking the whole market's softening the same way, let's look at the other side of the story. Single-family homes, especially in North County and inland neighborhoods, are holding up a lot better. Families still want a space, a backyard, and that classic San Diego suburban lifestyle. In North County, detached homes have a median of about 1.25 million. That's up 4.6% from last year. And across the county overall, single-family homes are up 2.4% to $1,075,000. So yeah, they're doing way better than condos right now. Take Rancho Penasquitas as an example. The median today is 1.52 million compared to 1.27 million back in January of 2022. So even with the market cooling, buyers are still paying for neighborhoods that have good schools, trails, and great amenities. With that said, even those stronger areas aren't completely immune. Detached homes are taking about 29 days to sell now. Not a huge slowdown, but enough that sellers need to be more patient and a little sharper than they were at the height of the frenzy. So here's the takeaway, the basics still matter. So location, lifestyle, and space are the things that keeping single-family homes resilient while other parts of the market adjust to this new reality. Alright, here's something that's going to sound like music to anyone who has been sitting on the sidelines. For the first time in years, buyers actually have leverage again. And smart buyers are using it in ways that would have felt impossible just 2 years ago. Remember when making an offer felt like buying a lottery ticket? You'd throw in a number blind, cross your fingers, and pray you'd win. Thankfully, those days are over. And here's why. The month's supply of inventory is now at 3.4 month supply. That's above the 3 mark that usually signals a balanced market. It's also a 25.9% jump from last year. So translation, the rules of the game have changed. Right now, 51% of homes are selling under asking price. Only 37% are going over. The list to sale price ratio is sitting at 98.7%. Compare that to 2022 when buyers were paying 103% just for the privilege of getting a house. But here's the biggest shift, seller concessions. You're even seeing this in new construction. They're happening at 60% of deals, one of the highest rates in the country. That means $10,000 closing cost credits, 2-1 rate buydowns, and other perks that save buyers serious money over the life of a loan. It is such a different world from the peak. Back then, people were writing offers $100,000 over asking, waiving inspections, and still losing to cash buyers. But now, buyers are negotiating repairs, asking for credits, locking in rate buydowns, and taking a night to think it over. And it's not just about price anymore. You can put contingencies back in, schedule real inspections, and make decisions with logic instead of fear of missing out. It's a return to sanity, and honestly, it's the healthiest thing that could have happened to San Diego real estate. Now, before we get too carried away with all this talk about leverage and concessions, let's hit pause and deal with the the elephant in the room. San Diego is still expensive. Like, really expensive. Even with the cooling, nothing has fixed the affordability problem that's been building for years. We're still sitting about 45% above the national cost of living average, and housing is the biggest driver of that. Our cost of living index is around 145, which puts us shoulder to shoulder with Boston and Seattle as one of the priciest places to live in the country. And unfortunately, cooling prices haven't changed that fact. Here's the stat that should give you some pause. Only about 12% of households in San Diego County can actually afford to buy a home. Even families earning between 80% and 150% of the median income are struggling with housing costs. Now, these aren't abstract numbers. These are our neighbors, our teachers, our first responders. And it's not just the home price. Monthly utility bills run $300 to $350 per month, which is nearly 40% higher than the national average. And honestly, I think it's actually a little bit higher than that. Electricity alone is 38.3 cents per kilowatt, one of the highest rates in the entire United States, and that hits extra hard when you're already stretching to cover a mortgage. So yeah, while we're seeing some relief on prices and negotiations, the core affordability challenge is still very real here in San Diego. That's why I always tell people, think long term. Make sure any housing move you make fits your finances not just today, but years down the road. And stick around because in just a minute, I'll break down what this all means for you and the moves you should be making right now. Now here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a little worrying for San Diego's long-term housing outlook. So even with more inventory on the market and homes taking longer to sell, we're still staring down a massive underbuilding problem that's been years in the making. City is short about 90,000 homes. To put that in perspective, we need to build around 13,500 new places every single year through 2029 just to keep up. But in 2024, we only built 8,500. That's less than 2/3 of what we actually needed. So why aren't we building more? A lot of it comes down to zoning and rules that make it tough for developers. Not to mention, a lot of people hate when we start building more, even though we need it. San Diego's Complete Communities Housing Solutions Plan is trying to push density near transit, but things like height limits and small lot sizes still hold projects back. And nationally, new construction starts fell 40% in 2024. And San Diego actually did buck that trend with more apartments built than any year since 2001. And that 2025 pipeline looks like about 4,000 new units are on the way. But here's the catch, most of those are luxury apartments, priced way out of reach for the average person. That's the bigger picture. A cooling market doesn't erase the supply problem. Demand is still way ahead of what's being built, so until zoning, permitting, and construction costs get sorted out, affordability is going to remain an issue no matter how the market shifts. For buyers and investors, that means San Diego real estate, while cooling in the short run, still has a strong long-term demand holding up values. Prices may dip here and there, but the supply and demand imbalance makes it unlikely those drops will last long. Alright, so we've covered what's happening and why it's happening. Now let's get to the part you guys really care about, what to actually do with this info. Because whether you're buying or selling, there are smart moves you can make right now to take advantage of these shifts. Buyers hunt price dips, negotiate extras. If you've been waiting for your moment, this is it. Inventory's rising, homes are sitting 32 to 60 days, and buyers finally have leverage we haven't seen since before the pandemic. Mortgage rates are just over 6% on a 30-year fixed as of September, much better than we saw earlier this year. But here's where the real wins are happening, seller concessions. We're seeing rate buy downs that can shave 1 to 2 percentage points off your mortgage for the first couple of years. A lot of new construction companies are doing this too. HOA credits and closing cost help can cover 3% to 9% of the purchase price depending on your loan. And plenty of sellers are throwing in $8,000 to $12,000 toward buy downs, which can save you hundreds every single month. Here's a good strategy. Target areas where homes are taking a lot longer to sell. Downtown condos and attached homes countywide are where you'll find the most wiggle room typically. If you're patient and do your homework and negotiate smart, you can land deals in 2025 that would have been flat out impossible during the frenzy. Sellers, price competitively, highlight unique perks, and if you're selling, the rules have changed. With 51% of homes closing under asking, you can't throw out a high number and hope for the best. Trust me, it just doesn't work. Price competitively from the start, otherwise you risk sitting on the market for 60 plus days, and that's when buyers have all the leverage. Presentation matters more than ever, trust me. Homes that are staged, freshened up, and move-in ready are still getting solid attention. And if your place has views, a prime location, or a unique feature, lean into that. It's what helps you stand out even in a slower market. Here's a smart play too. Consider offering concessions up front instead of waiting to slash your prices later. A 2-1 buy down can make payments more attractive for buyers while keeping your comparable values strong. That's really a win-win in my opinion. You move your home faster without undercutting your price history. So here's the bottom line. San Diego housing market is in transition, but it's a healthy one. We're not looking at a crash here. We're looking at a reset that's bringing balance back to a system that got way out of control. Buyers finally have negotiating power they haven't seen in years. Sellers, on the other hand, need to be sharp with pricing and intentional with how they present their homes. In other words, there are real opportunities on both sides if you know how to play it. So if you're thinking about making a move in this changing market, that's where I come in. I've been helping San Diego families buy and sell for years here, and I know what it takes to set you up for success, whether it's your first home or your forever home. So make sure you reach out to me at bern@ofta56.com and let's talk. And before you go, check out my next video linked right up here where I dive even deeper into San Diego's 2025 market and explain why it shifted. And if you're still on the fence about buying a home here, that's one to to watch. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.